Hello and welcome to Amethyst Star Crafting. My name is Jane Ormark and I'm a UK independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. And today we are starting Christmas projects and we are going to be using Winter Woods and the coordinating framelits in the woods. If you buy them both together at the moment, you get a 10% discount, so that's really good. And this is an absolutely beautiful set for Christmas because there's the beautiful Christmas tree, there's little fir sprigs and pine cones and just all sorts of lovely things. And we are going to be making a simple stepper card. Because I think this will lend to the sort of card that I want. So it's a very special card, and we are going to start with our scoreboard, and we need a piece of cardstock which measures, let me try and get this on here so you can see it, it measures 10.5 inches. That's the most important measurement. You can make it as long as you want, you can make it as short as you want. The 10.5 is the important thing, and if you take the size of envelope you want it to fit into, you can then adjust the length of it as you want. So this one is 10.5 by 5 inches. Okay, and on the long side, again, it doesn't matter which cardstock you use. This is a piece of Sahara sand, and the piece that I'm going to show you later was using Tranquil Tide. So our measurements for scoring are going to be 1.25 inches. So let's score this down at 1.25. And then 2.5 inches. And then 4.25 inches. Six inches. And 8.25 inches. Okay, so I'll run that through again. We've got 1.25 inches, 2.5 inches, 4.25 inches, 6 inches, and 8.25 inches, and that's all the scoring that we need to do. So we can put our scoreboard away, and we are then going to fold this, and we need to fold this in a concertina fashion. So taking the shortest bit first, we are going to fold that piece under, and taking our bone folder, we're going to give it a piece of paper there, we're going to give it a burnish, and then we're going to fold it back in the opposite direction. So fold it back in the opposite direction and burnish it again, turn it over, fold it back in the opposite direction and give that a burnish, fold it back in the opposite direction. So you are, as I say, making a concertina, and you just need to burnish it as you go. And then the last one, you're going to fold it and burnish it again. Okay, so make sure that you've got those creases nice and burnished, and that's what gives you your stepper card. So if we put it out, you can see it actually stands in a step. So now we are going to take some of the lovely DSP, and this is called the Joyous Noel Specialty Designer Series paper, and it has, if you look at it, it's got copper elements running through it. So on most of the pieces through here, on one side you've got some lovely copper elements, and on the other side you've just got pattern paper, because all our DSP is double-sided. So taking those pieces, we are going to mat this piece, and this piece. We don't need to mat the other sides because they're not going to show, but we want to mat these three. So you've got 1, 2, 3 pieces. So if you cut your DSP at, let me look at my measurements here. If you cut it at 4 7/8 of an inch long, this is 5 inches, so 4 7/8 is just 1/8 of an inch smaller. So I have chosen a piece, the back piece is going to measure your 4 7/8, and it is going to be 2 1/8 inch along that side. The middle piece is going to be, again, your 4 7/8, so 1/8 of an inch smaller, and again 1/8 of an inch smaller on there, which is 2 1/8. And the little piece at the front is going to be your 4 7/8 in length, and it is 1 1/8. And we are then going to stick it on using whatever your preferred glue is. So you can use Snell, you can use Tombow, you can do double-sided tape, whatever you want. And as I say, you're going to put it on like this. Then you need one piece, which I actually cut off the piece that was left down from the same piece of cardstock. And this piece measures 4 inches on the long side by 3 1/4 inches, and this is what we're going to put on there. And the mat for this is 1/8 of an inch smaller, so that 3 7/8 along that side and 3 1/8 on that side, and we are going to mat it on like that. So you then have your piece which goes on here. Okay, now, to save a little time, because this is going to take a long time to do all of this sticking and stuff like that, you've got the general design. Once you've done that, it folds flat, so you can then put it in an envelope. And so to say, it goes straight into the envelope, and then it's about embellishing it and making it really beautiful for Christmas. So I am going to take one that I have already started. So this one is exactly the same thing, but I used a tranquil tide piece instead of a Sahara sand. And I have done the matting with exactly the same paper, but just in the opposite direction. So I'm going to move this one out of the way, and we'll start with this one, because then it works. So all I have done is I've attached with Snell those two pieces. So if I fold it out, you can see it's on every alternate one, so that when you stand it up, you have your DSP on there. And then I have matted this piece exactly as we said, and I have used the In the Woods framelets, and this is what we're going to use for this one to actually make it into the beautiful card. So I'm going to show you some of them, because then you can see what we've used. So this one, I cut the base of the tree with this, and then I cut the middle part of the tree in tranquil tide again, which goes on top. And when you poke it out, you can see you have all of these lovely little pieces of the tree that stick out. We're also going to be using these, which are lovely sort of filigree trees. And we are going to be using the fir cones and the sprigs. Now, this is really good. Stampin' Up have given us 3 of exactly the same die. So where you can cut 3 out at the same time, so you can stamp 3 images, cut them out 3 times. And with the little fir cones, we've got 2 of these. So those are the dies that we're going to be using. And again, I have cut those out to save some time. So let's look at the Winter Woods. So we are going to stamp out this little image, and this will stamp out in Tranquil Tide on Whisper White. This little fir cone we will stamp out in Crumb Cake on Whisper White. And the trees, I have done those in, let me bring those out so we can look at those ones. I've done these 2 in, I've done these in Cherry Cobbler because I haven't got Merry Merlot at the moment. But the Cherry Cobbler does match quite nicely with this. So we've got 2 of those, and we've got 2 cut out in Whisper White. Now, you could cut a few out and mat them up together to give them a bit of height and stability, but I think it'll work without. So what I have done with this one is I have put the tree with dimensionals onto our back card, and I've just used some of our metallic copper sequins to just embellish the little tree. And this is going to stand here in the centre on the back there. So I hope you can see this at the angle of the camera. So we'll put that back. And then we are going to take these tree pieces, and we are going to have one on either side, and we're going to have the white ones on first, and then we're going to have the Cherry Cobbler at the side. So let's go and put some of these on. This we just need to attach it from the bottom. So all I'm going to do is eyeball where I want it, and then take some Tombow, just run it across there, run it across the bottom like this. And then we're going to attach it to the center of this panel. And I'm going to lay it flat so we can do this as accurately as we can. So taking it from the bottom in the center, lining it up, and just attaching it from the bottom. So when we stand it up, it sticks just proud out of the top. So that's the first piece on there. And then with these, I am going to put just some Tombow, because these pieces are going to stick out of the top like this. So we need to only attach them to the bottom. And again, you can use the double-sided sheets to make it a little easier. I'm just putting it in with a little bit of Tombow and just attaching it. So just dotting my Tombow about down on the bottom piece on here. And then we're going to put this one in on here on that side, lining it up to the bottom and just putting it up that way. So you've got some of it sticking out on that side, and then we're going to do exactly the same with the Cherry Cobbler piece. As I say, if you've got Merry Merlot, it is something that I have got on order, so I will be having some Merry Merlot very shortly. But as I say, the Cherry Cobbler, which has been around, as you know, for quite a long time, does work quite well with this. It's not an exact match, but it's near enough that it will work. So we're going to put this tree so that it comes further out, and we've just got a little bit of it overlapping on there. And then we're going to do exactly the same with the other side. So just giving that a little bit of Tombow along the bottom, and just along the little pieces on here. I'm going to do both pieces at the same time to save a little bit of time. Nice thing about Tombow is that it doesn't dry out immediately, so you can glue up a couple of pieces and then put them down when you want them. So we're going to put this one down again nearer to the side of the card, trying to line it up as best as we can, and put that down. And then we're going to take the other one and we're going to put that along the other side, just lining it up like that. Okay, so now you have your first layer, which I think is rather lovely. So let's have a look at the second layer that we're going to do. And this one, again, I've prepared some of it in advance and I've done half of it so that you can actually see. Now, what I've done with this one is I have taken the little fir sprigs that I said, which you can die cut out 3 at the same time. They're stamped in the Tranquil Tide, and the little fir cones in the crumb cake, because they match perfectly with there. And I've used the sprig punch and punched some of those out in white. The little sentiments are done in the stitch shaped framelits, and it again is about building up a beautiful scene. Now, any of these would stand alone on a card on their own. So you could use this element in the center of a card just to make something really pretty. So with this, what I'm going to do is I am just going to add a little bit of Tombow on the bottom. I've used a combination of Tombow and dimensionals. So let's just get, I've just squeezed that a little bit too much. So we're going to put one just tucked in like this and just work them around. So I'm going to do a couple just with glue like that and put those down. Make sure I haven't glued it too much onto the bottom. No, I haven't. And then I'm going to work these around first, I think. So let's put this one in with just a little bit of Tombow on here and put that one in underneath, leaving a little space for the fir cones. And I don't want it too much at the bottom because I don't want it to stick out too much. So I'm just going to take another one of these and pop that in the middle. And again, it's a matter of building up layers. You can do it as much as you want or as few as you want, depending on the look you want. So on this one, I've just done, just pick that one up because I don't want it to stick onto the bottom. So just have that in like that, which will work lovely. And then these I'm going to stick on with some mini dimensionals because I want just a little bit of height on here. So let's take a mini dimensional on the back of this one and we'll tuck that in underneath on here. I want the fir cones to be a couple together and then a couple separately, so I don't want them all to be sort of bunched up. And again, it's a matter of you working out exactly where you want them. So I think I'm going to put that one on with another little dimensional. So let's pop that one in on here like that, and we'll just stick this in underneath on here, making sure my fir cone's in the right direction, picking it up carefully so I can just tuck it in. And I'm just going to have these two just coming in together, so just putting that there, one overlapping, so you've got it looking as natural as you can. Now, do I want, I think I'm going to put just one more down at the bottom on here. So just a little bit of glue on here, and we're going to tuck this one in just there. And as I say, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, because if you think of branches and things, branches aren't always completely symmetrical. So it's quite nice to just, as long as you do things in sort of 2s and 1s and 3s, so that you haven't got it completely exact one side to the other, then it tends to look a little bit more natural. So I'm just going to pop this one in underneath on here, and that one I'm using the glue because I don't want that to stand up too much. Okay, so make sure that's attached. And then with the sprigs, what I did was, and as I say, you can see I've done half of it. So I'm just taking a sprig and I'm just going to glue the very end of it. So literally the last little leaf. And I'm going to do a few so I can then just put them in. What I tend to do is every time I've got a little piece of scrap of paper or an end of paper left, I will try and do some die cuts and some punches and just keep them in a box. So when I come to do a project like this, I can turn around and have a look at what I've got and try and put it together. And I've got pieces to play with. What I would suggest is to, let me just line that up on here. Can't talk and line up at the same time. So I've overlapped a couple of them. So yeah, what I would do is to put it down first without gluing anything down and have a little look at the balance, see if you like it, and then work from there. Because as I say, it's all about how you see it and how it looks for you. So now we've got this together, and you can see, let me hold that up, you can see now you've got a beautiful centerpiece, which again can go on a card, and if you were doing it on a card you would run it all the way down, but because it's going to be on here, I don't want the piece to be right at the bottom. So I'm going to turn this over, got a little bit of glue on there, and I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back so that it is going to stand out a little bit. So the dimensionals are going to come into the corner of the stitch shape framelit, and I'm using the large ones for this because I want it to adhere quite well. You could put quite a few minis on, but I think 3 will work perfectly. And then we're just going to take these off like this, and then we can put this one in the center here like that. So I'm trying to balance it so that it comes at the front of where I've got the tree in the center, and then just attach it with, and as I say, you can fold it flat, attach it with your dimensionals, then put it out. So you've now got your second layer that comes through, and if I pick it up and put it at an angle, you can actually see how you're starting to create a really pretty scene. So that's the second part. And then the little piece on the front, I think I am going to, now I've got some of these pieces which I've done as well, again from the Winter Woods. There is a lovely leaf, and this actually does not only cutting, but it embosses the leaves. Now again, you could add some shimmer paint and stuff on it, but what I wanted to do with this was to just put, and I'm alternating, one in the Tranquil Tide and one in the Cherry Cobbler, because I think that that will look quite nice. And I'm going to put the, which way round do I want it? Yes, I think I want green on that side. So this is going to literally just lie along the top edge. So we only want to glue the bottom part down. So let me just put some Tombow down on here and just along the edge, because it is going to literally balance up. We're going to do it this way. So that comes at the top, so it's actually standing up, again giving that three-dimensional look. So again, just press it down, and then the other one is going to come in that direction, so we'll do exactly the same, and we just want that on the top. So again, just taking that bottom one and just popping a spot of Tombow on the bottom part of it and just along on the stem, and again lining that up so that it literally just comes along the top like that. And again, you can fold it down and press it on. And then I've got one other sentiment which I haven't done anything huge with, because I thought that if I had too much it would look too busy. So this one is Fill the Season with Happiness. Again, I've used the stitch shaped framelits and the ovals, and we're going to put this one down with the dimensionals literally just in the centre. Now I'm going to use the minis for these ones because this is going to, now is it going to sit? Yes, it is. It's going to sit right down there, so I don't have to worry exactly where I'm going to put them. So we're going to have one here, one there, one at the top, and one at the bottom like that. And then we can put this in. Now you can, as I say, decorate these however you want. I just absolutely adore the Winter Woods, and you can just make some absolutely beautiful cards with this. And I think this that gives you a real sort of dimension is, let me just concentrate a second while I get this in, because I want this over the top just balanced up with that. Okay, so let's have a look at this up in all its glory. You can see you now have an absolutely beautiful Christmas card that you could give to somebody really special. Let me just sort of try and get it at an angle, because I'm not sure how well you can see this on the camera. But you have a really simple idea of doing this stepper, but you then have this lovely scene that goes back to the trees, toning it in those colours, and as I say, it folds absolutely flat for you to be able to put it in a standard envelope. Yes, you've got a little bit of bulk on there, but again, it fits into, let me see if I've got a standard envelope to show you. Yes. Okay, so this is one of our standard envelopes, and you can see it will fit in absolutely perfectly to mail, so you haven't got any problems with having to do special boxes and things like that. And again, you can make it fit whatever envelope you've got. So there we are, a rather pretty card to start my Christmas series off. I hope you enjoyed it, and I do look forward to seeing you again. As I always say, please look at subscribing to my channel, because I do post regularly, and there will be lots of Christmas ideas coming up. So thank you so much, and bye-bye.